And I'm so excited and thrilled to be joined by the editor and founder of the Homeworker magazine, Louise Goss. Thank you for joining us so much, Louise.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to chatting today. It's going to be really good.
And I know that it's really tough for you as well because you are juggling the magazine and 2 children, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So hopefully you can give us your insights on what's working for you.
Yeah, I'm very much doing what a lot of people are doing right now, which is the homeschooling, working from home, like the complete juggle.
And you published a newsletter today, which I loved, and I hope that people will go onto your website and they will sign up for your newsletter and buy the magazine. You talked about discussing the work from home experiment. And I love that you called it an experiment that many of us are experiencing at the moment, because for you, working from home is normal. Like, that's what you do. And it's the same for me. I've been working from home for quite some time, but now it's shifted a lot. So that's what we're going to focus on a lot tonight. But first, I would love for you to share with the audience, tell us a little bit about why you started the magazine. And obviously you're a true visionary because it's become really relevant. And I think your first edition was a little over a year ago. It was January of 2019, right?
2019, it launched, the first issue. And yeah, I should say that I had no idea that coronavirus was on its way. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It was the idea for the magazine, and in fact, before even the idea for a magazine, but the idea for this kind of homeworking idea was kind of bubbling away a few years ago. And actually, if you go back, the first iteration of this first idea came when I was actually working. It's quite interesting I was in an editorial capacity for a cryptocurrency business. I mean, it's a bit crazy. I was working there, but what that showed me was how many small businesses there were, how many self-employed people, how many micro businesses there were, people based at home doing their thing, doing such a huge variety of things. And the reason I came across them was because it tended to be, at the time, those small businesses who were starting to experiment and dabble with cryptocurrency, right? So, and my eyes were opened to how many people were out there doing this on a freelance basis, self-employed, running their own little businesses. And I thought, gosh, as a journalist, this was really interesting for me, because I thought there are so many stories. Everybody has such personal stories and journeys of how they got there and why they're doing what they're doing. And I thought how interesting it would be to profile these people. And that's kind of how the idea began. But then when I started exploring it a bit more, after we were in Australia at the time, I returned to the UK, and I thought, right, now is the time for me to set something up for myself. I got to that crossroads that so many people arrive at. I had 2 young children, and I was thinking back to these people and what I kind of call the hidden economy. They're the backbone of our economy, all these self-employed people, all these small businesses, but nobody really hears much about them. And when I looked at the broader sort of idea of homeworking, there were so many elements to it, so many facets. It's not just about you as a business owner, it's also you as a parent, potentially, as a partner. It's you kind of meshing your lives, your work life, your home life together, and everything is so integrated that I realized that actually a magazine was a really good way of tackling this as a topic, because there are so many elements to it. So it wasn't just like one moment where I went, a magazine, I'm going to do this. It kind of simmered away for a couple of years and then sort of formulated, and then so 2019 the magazine launched.
And you've had was it your 5th edition just now that launched?
6th. It was issue 6.
Yes. Oh gosh, I can't believe it.
Yes, issue 6, on actually 7 if you include the print issue that came out. I almost did like 5 issues last year. Yeah.
Amazing. It's beautiful. It's on my coffee table. I should have had a cup here.
It's fine. Yeah, I should have one. Yeah, I think I do actually.
And the title for tonight's talk was the issue, this issue, month's issue, when homeworking went viral. I'd love to take credit for it, but I can't. Your title for the magazine this month. And it's, I mean, the irony that that's the topic. I mean, you changed the title, right?
I did. I changed the title. I mean, funnily enough, the theme for the issue, each issue has a theme. And the theme had always been going to be around flexible working. Yeah. And then obviously the world started flexible working within a sort of a matter of 2 weeks or something. And yes, so that the sort of title of that issue was, something that I came up with more recently. But the theme around flexible working was weirdly something that had always been the plan. Yeah.
And so can you just briefly explain a little bit about flexible working and kind of what you've seen, how you've seen the landscape change a little bit over the course of the last year and a half or so?
Yes, I mean, it is changed. It has changed already, and it's going to continue to change. I mean, flexible working, taken, as a whole, flexible working isn't just obviously about working from home, because it can mean doing reduced hours or job sharing. There are lots of ways you can be a flexible worker, but the working from home thing is one of the main things. And I think go back a few years, and there was still quite a high demand for it, particularly among parents who wanted to be able to juggle the childcare but also maintain a career. And that was one of the main things. And obviously, interestingly, a few months ago, I was at an exhibition and I was talking to people, like literally hundreds of people. And I was so surprised at how many people said, I have started working from home, or I've set up on my own or gone self-employed because I could not get flexible working from my employer. They denied my request for it. And I think legally now you are allowed to request flexible working after so many weeks in the job. But I think the demand was there, but there still probably wasn't enough uptake. Or suddenly, in a matter of weeks or days even, when the announcement happens, but organizations have had to implement it and had to implement work from home policies. And isn't it amazing when you're forced how quickly these things can suddenly work? And sure, there are teething problems, but I think what this has shown us is that it is possible, that you can do it. And of course, this isn't, as we've touched on, this isn't exactly the way it would be under normal circumstances, and there are things that would be different.
So I want to talk about, because that's what you talked about in your newsletter today. You talked about that this experiment, this home working experience that we're having, is not really a fair reflection of what it's really like. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? What have you noticed are the biggest shifts, and how are you kind of dealing with it? Because I'd love to hear what you found also worked for you before that now you've had to adapt and change as a result.
Sure. Yeah, and quite a few things actually. I mean, and the reason I said it's not really a fair reflection is because, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't also have the children home if they're normally at school. You wouldn't potentially have two of you, working from home if one of you normally goes to the office. In our personal situation, my husband normally goes to the office Monday to Friday, and he occasionally did the odd work from home day, and we could make it work because it wasn't a permanent, permanent thing. But and we have two young children who would normally be in nursery or at school. So, right now we are under so much more pressure and stress from kind of just what is happening in the world. So you wouldn't ordinarily have those kind of worries going on, but equally, you would be allowed out. One of the things that I used to do and love about working from home was the freedom and the flexibility. And the freedom is one of the things that we actually don't have right now. And we've lost that ability, because one of the things I would always recommend about working from home is, you're quite isolated. You can stay confined in your house for a long time, which isn't always the best for your mental health. And I used to love going out to coffee shops and just going out and getting a bit of feeling of part of society. And of course, that isn't possible now. So it's, small things or big things actually like that have changed and had to change. We had to make changes. So I used to I had a small work area set up in my living room. We didn't have a separate home office. We didn't have a spare bedroom. and I could either flip between the kitchen table or this little sort of desk area that I had set up. Well, of course, suddenly the children are home all the time, that those areas are covered in jigsaw pieces and Lego bricks, and my husband is also at home trying to find a space to work. So we took in some ways quite a big decision, but we moved my daughter from her room and mercilessly kicked her out. She's moved in with her brother. Luckily that's working and they love it, actually. And we've converted her bedroom into a separate home office because we realized that was crucial.
Yeah.
Like, we could not, both of us, work from home in the sort of living space with two children running around. It just wasn't practical. So we've had to adapt, we've had to make changes, and we've had to sort of split our day a little bit more and kind of work that out as well between us, a bit of a structure around supervising children, who's going to work when, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's from many parents. That's what's happening. And I'd love to ask. I can't tell how many people are on live unless people make comments. So I am going to ask those of you that are online and you're listening now. Just put in the comments what strategies, what have you implemented that has been really helpful, just so we can get lots of ideas and generate some additional information that could help our viewers.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, because everyone talks about structure and routine being important, which I absolutely agree with. It's sort of, and I say the interesting thing about routine at the moment is it is good for being productive and giving you that sense that what's going to happen each day, and particularly if you've got children around. But I would say two things. Firstly, that a routine right now, if anything, it actually just gives you more of a sense of safety. And it gives you those normal morning rituals that you do. If you kind of stick to them a little bit, it just gives that sort of sense of normality in a world that really isn't normal at the moment. So it's actually a sort of a bit of a safety net. It makes you feel a bit more secure as well as anything else. So it's sort of good sort of on a mental health level, as well as just trying to be productive and get things done.
Yeah, I have definitely found sticking. It's almost like having a flexible routine, right? There are certain things, kids we know really thrive with, routines and feeling safe. And I would say I do as well. It's also kept me quite productive. I mean, I'm not going to lie. This morning, today was a tough day for me. It was probably the toughest day yet because it was pouring rain all day.
Yep.
It was the first day during this whole quarantine in almost 7, I don't even know what week we're on.
I know, it's all
right. That we were not able to get out of the house and go for a walk. I just couldn't deal with walking in the rain today. And it was like claustrophobic. I mean, we all felt it. I think even the dog felt it, And I think that having that routine of being out and stuff, and the fact that we couldn't do that was really hard, but you have to be flexible. Yeah. But getting up, we all get up, we get dressed, we shower, we put on our clothes. Yeah. I definitely don't, I haven't washed my hair in a couple of days. I don't, I put on a little bit of makeup when we just, but I'm not doing that per se. No. But certainly having certain structure and routine, and
just getting ready for the day, and I would go as far as to say, particularly if you are a remote worker who's very much used to getting up at a certain time, up to the alarm, having your commute, which some people actually find very useful. It's kind of that boundary right between work and home, and I would say, if it helps initially as you're kind of adapting to all this, is keep to those routines. Keep that alarm at the same time. Listen to that radio program that you normally listen to, even if it's at home. It just sort of sets you into that kind of rhythm for the day. And then, what I find useful, use that morning, that space where you may have had your commute or be driving somewhere, take your exercise at that point, if that's when you can, because that kind of works as a bit of a commute and a bit of a separation. So, you leave the house in the morning, go for your walk or whatever, do something productive. You can listen to a podcast or whatever it is that you kind of find useful. When you walk back in through the door, you're at work, and it sort of acts as a bit of a separation.
That's actually really good advice. I hadn't thought about that. And it's not something I have to do because I do typically work from home, or I
same, yeah.
My husband. And what I've noticed, actually, this is something that hasn't changed. When you talk about when you work from home, you have the option a lot of the time. You can stay in like your sweatpants all day, right? And like, I mean, it doesn't matter. But even before this lockdown, it was something that I needed to do, was to get up, get dressed, get ready, because if I didn't do that, I would find myself not being as productive, and I would find myself, doing other things and not feeling like I was in work mode. So I think there's a lot of tips we can use from all of the information you've put in your magazine and all of these editions. I think there's a lot of information that we can use now that was relevant before, that can really help,
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
As well. So I see that someone on the comments, Sarah Dean put, she's working during naps and early evening only. And I would say that's pretty much my schedule as well. And I think, that's typical. And
God bless the nap times, because I don't nap anymore. My youngest is 3, so she doesn't nap anymore. But I remember the days when I used to relish the nap time, because that was when I could get things done. And I mean, I don't know if it's worth mentioning at this point, because obviously I have 2 young children who are not old enough to just be left on their own and say, go up and do your work. Equally, they're not babies anymore where I can they can nap or just lie on the floor and not move. And what I have discovered is I've never been what they call a helicopter parent. I've never been that kind of parent, but I do find that even more so now, because my work still goes on. So yes, I have had to skew my day. I kind of tend to do a block a bit earlier in the morning now, sort of while they're having breakfast and stuff. My husband sort of has a bit of time with them. And then I tend to do a bit of work in the evenings. And I will try and keep the weekends for family time, but then we have to allowances. I might have to do a couple of hours or something over a weekend. But what I have done is, when I've got things to do that aren't sort of crucial, deep focused work, and they're around, I can supervise from a distance, still get on with a bit of work, and actually leaving the children safely to their own devices has been wonderful for all of us. And actually the children are learning through that as well. They are learning teamwork, they're learning so much more creative play, and I don't feel guilty about it anymore, because I can see them doing their thing and I'm getting on with a bit of work. And it's not always resorting to a screen, but they are playing and using their imaginations and having fun.
So I don't know if you had here in the UK Mr. Rogers. Did you have that program? It was when I was a kid. You're also a little bit younger than me. We had a program, Mr. Rogers, and he used to say that play is a children's job. I mean, that is their work. That's what they're supposed to be doing. And the only challenge I have with what you're explaining is that I've been doing the same with Chloe. I love watching her play independently, and I can't get any work done because I'm so engrossed in observing her.
Yes.
I find the development of her brain, it's like I can see the wheels turning, and I find it fascinating. And I just try not to get involved so I don't break her flow, because she's, they talk about is it Daniel Pink? I can't remember who talks about being in your flow. And that's what kids are in when they're playing like that. Their imaginations, they just start dreaming up all of these amazing things. So
it is amazing. It is amazing. And I do it. I notice sometimes if I suddenly tune back in and I'm like, I hear her telling a little story or singing to herself while she's doing something, and you almost want to kind of like capture that moment and sort of go, oh my gosh, and like listen in.
Yeah.
And then they notice you, and then it's on.
So I want to bring up, actually, you talk a lot about, and I don't know if it was in this newsletter or in the edition of the magazine, you talk about self-care, and not just self-care, but carving out time for yourself.
Yeah.
So how do you do that right now? What tips can you give? How are you doing that?
Yeah, and I'm not going to say it's easy to do, and I don't successfully do it all the time, but I have more than ever noticed how important it is, because and I think I did touch on it perhaps briefly in this newsletter, because I was saying that right now it's so very hard to switch off. And I would say, you know, it's a challenge for people who work from home anyway, I think, to sort of switch off mentally, because work is always there.
Yes.
But right now, even when I'm kind of off work and I might just be sitting or supposedly having downtime, yeah, my brain is worrying, you know, because I might put the news on and then I go, that was a mistake, because now I'm thinking about this, and you know, so there's so much going on, and we're being it can be very overwhelming. So I think that taking that time for yourself, actually, I would say now more than ever, is really important. And I mean, the ways I do it, something sometimes has to be sacrificed. So whereas maybe I would say, let's go for a family walk. I have a couple of times I've said, you know what, I'm going to just take my walk for myself today. Like, it's just me. I'm just going to go. I'm going to just have a moment, whether I want to listen to some music or or nothing at all, and just be in nature. You know, like, it's those moments. And again, I think what I would say at the moment with these sort of self-care moments and taking time for yourself is they kind of just have to be negotiated a bit more. So, you know, if you have, particularly if you're a parent, you know, you've got to sort of figure it out, you know, when you can do that. So it can't be quite as spontaneous as it might always have been. But yeah, I mean, even if it's just taking a bath by yourself, you know, in the evening, it's just moments you can try and just make the most of that. Those small moments that you can take for yourself, like, take them.
You know, I was
going to say, because I started skewing my work day slightly, so I get up and work first. Normally I would be doing school runs and then have a bit of a workout, and then I start my work day. And now I'm like up and I start work earlier so that my husband can get in the office when he needs to. But that moment, that sort of first half hour or whatever, although I'm kind of working, I kind of just make sure that I have a couple of rituals for myself in the morning. So even if it's just making that cup of tea, having a moment of calm. I know meditation is really good. I don't always do it, but sometimes I do. Or journaling. I'm a big fan of journaling, so I will do that. And it's just having that half hour, you know, to myself in the morning actually really just helps set me up for the day. So it's finding those times where you might not ordinarily think I'm doing something, you know, I'm doing self-care, but actually you kind of are, because it's just taking some time for yourself where you can, you know, do something that's good for you, that nurtures you.
I've actually decided that, because I've been taking walks every day with my daughter and my dog, and it's so funny you brought that up, that sometimes you'll take that walk by yourself.
Yeah.
When this rain stops, and I pray that it stops soon, I need to do that. I'm longing for a walk of silence. Like, I don't have that. I will bring the dog because she's
I don't talk back.
But that is that's something I'm missing, is having my alone time. Like, just literally no one around me, you know, even though we're isolated, it's like we're confined to our families. It doesn't feel, and I understand that some people are not with their families. I have friends that are, you know, living on their own, and that's a whole nother.
Exactly. And and which is exactly what I mean about this whole situation at the moment. It's just not a normal, fair reflection of anything, like what would be normal, you know, if everyone was working from home. Some people are really struggling with it. Some people, for them, hasn't changed too much. Like, everyone's experiencing this very differently. But the walk by yourself, for me, just, you know, now and again, not, it doesn't have to be every day, but it's just taking some time, breathing.
My husband's downstairs while I do this. He's like, what time are you doing this? He's downstairs cycling, like in the house. He got one of those. I don't know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Bike on it. And he may or may not be listening to this. I don't know. He tries to listen, but it's okay if he's switching off and watching whatever. But he takes that time. And I think it's been probably like just amazing for him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is taking a bath. And I wish I could do it every day, but, you know, once a week, just being, no one bothers you in the bath. Lock the door and just switch off. I just want to bring up, so I want to say hello to Robert, who's in Kenya, and he's like with us all the time, and he said, you guys are changing lives, you know, keep moving, which I really I appreciate, Robert. And I'm going to probably say this name incorrectly. Dorota from Amsterdam put a question. So I'm going to read it and let's see if we can answer this. I'm wondering how everyone is dealing with all of the responsibilities we have to do throughout the days. What kind of garment will the future of work wear, right, from home? I would need a solution to make getting ready and staying professional through the whole day, even if it involves going to the playground or cooking, as well as work calls. And she said, thank you for talking about these topics. We really appreciate it. So
that was sort of staying professional while also dealing with everything else. Yeah, I mean, because that is a shift that you have to make, and I have to make kind of almost frequently throughout the day. You know, I'm mum, and then suddenly I want to call, and it made me laugh. Like before lockdown, actually, I'd been driving around. I'd just come back from dropping my daughter off somewhere, and then I had to pull over in the car, and suddenly I was on the phone to a newspaper who were doing an interview with me. You know, suddenly I was like, I'd gone from mum, and then suddenly I was like, oh, professional person, and I was wearing, you know, sweatpants and something, you know, not. I think there are a few ways that you can maintain a sense of professionalism, and I'd say that I feel like you hear it quite a lot. People talk about getting dressed, but I do think that it makes a difference. So if you think a bit about what you're wearing, you know, just making that effort to, I'm not saying you have to be corporate. I mean, I think one of the beauties of working from home is you don't have to, you know, stick yourself into something, you know, tight and heels and whatever. I know some men who find putting a tie on is what they need to do to kind of get into that sort of sense of being professional. And some people around their work area where they work find it really useful to put sort of items that remind them of being in the office. So whether it's just some sort of books, you know, sort of industry or, you know, professional books. You know, I know a lawyer who likes to put, you know, her tomes over the kind of books around on the desk, because, you know, that's how she kind of focuses and gets into that work mode again. So I think there are lots of little sort of things around your environment that you can do to kind of just trigger you to get back into kind of whatever works for you, really. And, you know, I know people who, you know, when they're in the office, they have a set time for like maybe a cup of coffee and they have a certain thing. So they've almost kept that, you know, like, oh, it's 10:30 and I'm going to go and get my coffee now. And, you know, it might be a slightly different coffee, but it's, you know, it's that same kind of idea.
My husband does that. And I think those rituals are really important. And I want to share, I'm going to be really honest with all of you right now. At 8:00, I was still wearing my workout clothes. I had a tank top on. I thought it wasn't appropriate to come on with a tank top. So I threw a top on, but I am wearing like my gym gear, like my workout pants. And this is something I've been doing because I'm not typically on video on screens. I work in person. So I'm either in comfy clothes working from home, or I'm like dressed to present in front of people. And so, you know, I'm doing that with Chloe, and I'm getting on the floor and I'm playing with her. I'm not getting dressed up nice during the day, but when I have to be on calls, I literally will just change my top, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think I'm quite. I mean, I like to be comfortable, actually, because if I'm feeling restricted in any way, or I'm wearing clothes that, you know, don't make me just like be able to, then actually I find it hinders me more than anything else. So for me, I do like comfort, but you know, I've bought trousers that they're not jeans, they're not you know, sweatpants, but they're sort of like a smartish trouser, but they're comfortable, they're a bit more loose and relaxed and fun. And you know, you sort of find just what works for you. And I don't know if that answered the question specifically. I hope that helped in a way, but it was around sort of being professional and switching, and it can be hard, but I think you sort of, there are little things that you can do to just kind of little triggers and things that you can do.
And Valerie in France said that she gets up extra early to have her own time, and I know a lot of people doing this right now. A lot of parents I've heard are getting up early and they're having their quiet time. I am not doing that. I have to be honest. I used to be very much a morning person, but I'm finding, I don't know if at first I had this like kind of like, I think, anxiety about, like, I was wired every night. Like I was really having trouble sleeping. And now I'm not having trouble getting to sleep, but I'm working later than I normally would because I'm working during the day. And so I'm exhausted in the morning. I sleep in, and my daughter gets up, she's up at 6:37.
Okay, yeah.
Husband he's up with her every morning, except on the weekends, he gets her. And I stay in bed till 7:30, and then we get up and shower. It's like, a dream. But I think it's important to note that for some of us, getting up early and having that time is our sanity. And for some of us, sleeping in and getting that extra time. So there isn't a one size fits all. We really have to work for us.
Yeah, I mean, I was found myself, this is quite interesting. So at the end of last year, I found myself, it's kind of what I call that, it's kind of like slipping into working later and later. So I would sort of start work and do maybe an hour or so, but then it would get to sort of like 10 and I'd be like, oh, I don't feel that tired. I've still got this to do, so I'm just going to do a little bit extra. And that would slip, and it got later and later, and I thought, this is enough. Like, this isn't sustainable. It's not good for me. And even the work I was doing probably really wasn't my best work, right? So I was forcing myself to keep going because I felt like I had to, because it was my time, because everyone was asleep, and so I switched. At the start of this year I made a real conscious effort to get up earlier and do it the other way around and go to bed a bit earlier. And I felt amazing for it. I really did find the benefits. And then lockdown and this happened, and I was sort of similar. I have no more I need more time in my day now. So I was kind of trying to work it later again. So I have gone back to kind of just getting up a bit earlier and having that time to myself. And and I think it's important, like when you have your own business, because again, we're all experiencing this differently. Some people are working for an organization, some people are running their own business and working for themselves and perhaps have a bit more flexibility around that. But if you are an employee, I think it is really important, if you can and if you feel comfortable doing so, is to have a conversation with your employer, because I think now is the time for compassion and for understanding, and for people need to, if you've got children at home, I mean, and we're all, that they should understand at the moment what our limitations are, and if you need allowances for certain things, I think people have to understand them. It's my husband has been on a Zoom call and had my 3-year-old yelling from another room some kind of toilet related thing, which is kind of, you can laugh about. I think the other thing, we have to laugh about it because there's no point not doing it. It kind of breaks the ice, and we're all experiencing this together, and we need to almost find the humor in it. I think as well.
Speaking of which, we're almost out of time, but in your latest edition, you interviewed Anna Whitehouse and her husband, and there's a few things in the magazine with her, but one of the pieces is called Lockdown Life: Staying Sane in Confinement. And it's how her and her husband, who are both working from home, and I don't know how many children. Do they have?
They have 2, I think. Yes.
And so I'm not going to give all the details, but I'm just going to share with everyone. I love just what they said. They gave 5 points about keeping your sanity. And the first one was to make peace with the chaos.
Yeah.
I love that. The second one was to contain the chaos.
Yeah.
The third one was to give each other time off, which, like you were saying, having your alone time. To split the day, which we've talked about, right? And I think you're doing that. I'm doing that. And the last one was your own time, having like that walk by yourself, that bath. I'm not going to go into each one, but if people want to understand more about that, definitely get subscribe to the magazine. Do you want to, before we finish up, can you just give the details of how people can subscribe and how many editions, how that works?
Sure. Yes. So it's thehomeworker.com is the website, and you can buy the magazine there. Now, what we have done just for this particular issue, because we appreciate that people are potentially going through tough times at the moment. So you would subscribe. It's only £20 for a whole year. So it's not a huge amount. You get each quarterly issue of the magazine then, and then we have special offers, subscriber deals and things as well as that. And then, but if you want to just buy this one issue to test it, or just to sort of, maybe you don't want to commit to a subscription at this time, it's just £5 for the one issue, which you can buy separately from the website.
That's amazing. Listen, people, whoever's listening, it's totally worth it. Even if you just get the one edition. But if they get the subscription now, can they get back editions or no?
You can get back editions separately, but again, they're all discounted, and you get like, if you're a subscriber, you get discounts on the back issues and on all that sort of stuff, and discount on the print issue as well. We have like a hard copy. I do happen to have one. I wasn't intending. I didn't mean for it. I happened to
show it.
Which is the hard copy. It's like a sort of it's quite a thick. You have a copy.
The first year, right?
Nice kind of It's a sort of coffee table style. It's quite a nice looking, quite thick, and
lovely. I have it on my coffee table, and I think that's important that people can get back editions, because I would recommend, if you go on and you subscribe, look at the previous editions, because there's so much information there. I don't know them off the top of my head, but what are the themes? Can you just throw?
You can. What you can do actually, and what has been very popular, is you can go on and buy a bundle of back issues. So you can buy issues 1 to 4 for just £15, and you get the bundle there, as which is, again, has been really popular. And gosh, we look at, so the first issue was kind of themed around new beginnings, because it was the sort of inaugural issue, but there were lots of stuff in there. There was the second issue was around money and your money mindset, and we interviewed Denise Duffield-Thomas, who's like a renowned money mindset coach. We have done issues on creativity and on communication, which again is very interesting, particularly for your audience, I'm sure, around kind of communicating with the people in your household as well, which I think is one of the really important things when it comes to working from home. We haven't discussed it majorly here, but it's, we think about it just being ourselves and our work and being productive and communicating with our clients or our employee co-workers, but the family, the people in your household, which we're becoming much more aware of now, it's really important to have those conversations with them as well. And
So, well, listen, Louise, thank you so much for being on here and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. I hope that people will get the magazine, because it's really helpful, especially for now. And just to share with everyone, next Tuesday, we will have Dina. She's an executive coach, Dina Emzer, and she'll be talking about empowering people in the virtual workplace. So how can we keep people motivated and engaged, and how can we connect? So hope to see you next Tuesday at 8:30. Until then, stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.